Let's give it up. Thank goodness for Sandra Bullock winner, Academy Award winner, Sandra Bullock. Not a moment too soon.
I haven't been around this many people in 2 years.
How does it feel for you to be in a theater full of people after all this time?
Well, this is the first time I've been in a theater with this many, so just give me about 15 minutes to take it in. You know what, it hopefully signals safety, and that there's a new normalcy of enjoying art as a group, the shared experience safely. I think we've paid our dues. I think it's time for us to safely take care of each other and just share in those experiences, and it's really nice. It's a little overwhelming, but
We are all very, very happy to see you and share this experience.
I appreciate everyone coming out. This is really nice for me. This is really, really nice. So thank you for doing this. Thank you guys for coming out.
So normally I start these conversations with actors. How did this come about? But I mean, this is like a really loaded question, considering that this movie is in the depth of your performance. So how did this come about for you? Like, what made you say, I've got to make this film?
Graham King, my producing partner, not at that time, he had this script, and it came to me, and I don't remember exactly what the process was or the steps that happened, but I remember having read it, and I got to the end of it, and it reminded me of my daughter, who I found in foster care, and the journey that I had going to find her, ostensibly. But it was a very it's a process where what you learn you can't unsee, and it's a process where you're really called to the table on your ability to parent and love when someone was born into a system that didn't see them. And what does that look like and feel like? And I was challenged enough to go, am I the best person for this child? So I thought that's why I went into this. That's what moved me at first. But then what we realized when we were filming and towards the end, it was the judgment I have had towards those whose stories I did not understand. And when I saw and learned what I learned in the process of the research for this, with the women who were imprisoned and subsequently the women who were released, I realized that whatever luck I had in how I was born, it does not negate the fact that my fellow human being and my fellow female human being needs to have my voice or my protection in telling a story of their having been born into poverty in a system that doesn't see them.
You know, before I get into just all the prep and the research you did, you know, on the surface, you know, Ruth might seem like a character that people look at you, look at your career, look at Ruth, and might say, wow, that's so different for her. Like, I would never expect Sandra Bullock to take on a role like this. But it sounds like there were many points of connection for you to relate and really tap into that.
Along the way, yeah. I think anyone in here, especially women, we're not allowed to be angry or have rage. We're not allowed to express despair or sorrow or fear in any way, shape, or form that makes anyone uncomfortable. We are supposed to be reserved. We are supposed to behave a certain way, and that made me so fucking mad. And then, and then, if I had this rage, I then looked at women who have had a reason to have rage that made my rage look like inconsequential. So in the process of this, being allowed to be full of rage and anger and despair and hurt and irresponsibility and self-sabotage was such a nice relief, because there wasn't a pretty dress that I had to take care of. There wasn't great makeup. There was some makeup to help what was already happening happen. There wasn't great lighting. There wasn't beautiful hairstyles to cover up the darkness and the imperfections. And guess what? 90% of the world has pain and rage and doesn't look like a princess. It doesn't look like a supermodel. So we had to sit there, and it was actually a really nice relief to not have to live up to a standard that I realized I had never lived up to begin with.
When it came to producing with Duran King, why was it so important for you to not only be his actor, but to be a producing partner with Duran?
I was producing before I had my children, then I had my children, and I was like, I just don't have the bandwidth for it. I'd rather be home with them, but on this one, the point of view that was missing was the female point of view, and it was a female's point of view. And Graham didn't have to, but he allowed me to insert myself and stubbornly fight for what, I thought needed to be said, that most people wouldn't let their lead actress do in a movie because it wasn't attractive. But I kept saying, if we get to the end result and we show a person's spirit, I think that'll be just as beautiful and loving as if you had a beautiful leading lady, which you don't, and it was really important for me to fight to not be the beautiful leading lady, because for the most part, we're not. It is smoke and mirrors. Life sucks, life is hard, and in the pandemic, I think we all really realized that, and I said, if this film could end on that one note, I think everyone who's been locked in their home will feel it.
So as I was explaining to everyone in the audience, so I see a lot of movies, 350 a year, and again, I am not complaining.
But he is. You are lucky he's here. Here, 2 other films he could have been at,
But
and he's drunk. No, he's not. I don't smell anything.
the point is, I did not see that twist.
Oh, yeah.
I am really good about
Yeah.
not I'm shocked. My
Good.
jaw hit the floor. And it just it made the movie into something completely different. When you read that the first time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you didn't know.
Mhm.
Right? I said, you read this and
Mhm.
talk to me later.
Yeah.
What went through your mind when you got to that point?
Well, if I'm continuing the script past page 30 or 35, I'm already envisioning myself doing it. So when it happened, it is that dream that I think everyone has, which is how can art and commerce live in the same project? Why does art always have to eliminate the audience's enjoyment of the ride? We are here to entertain. So I feel very strongly about providing that if I'm given the opportunity to do what I do for a living. And in this one, I thought maybe, just maybe, we have the shot of entertaining while also quietly sharing stories of millions of human beings who never get stories made about them. Those who sacrifice every single day of their life with no beautiful book written about them, no magazine cover, no blog, no tweet, no post, nothing, because it's not attractive. So I thought if we could give you a thrill and a ride, and at the end have moved you in a certain way, it makes me really excited. So that twist is what made me get very excited about what this could be for people watching a movie.
Yeah. So when it came to the prep and the research, who did you talk to what were the discoveries that you made from the people that you spoke to that you channeled through your performance?
We were given incredible access. I feel so bad. We were, I know my back is amazing. But anyway, we were given access to a women's prison in Seattle, in Washington, just outside of Seattle. And we met with Nora Finkscheid, and our director and I met with 4 extraordinary women who were in there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And when you get to that amount, you can pretty much guess what the crime was for. But never once did I feel compelled to ask them what they did, because the women that I met were so full of hope and sweetness and kindness, and had this view of what life would be like when they got out. They had a view of how life would be better and different than what their life was like before they got to prison. And every single story of every woman that we spoke with, the women who were incarcerated, we also got to speak with women who were released anywhere from 1 year to 5 years. Every single woman had the same beginning. Every single woman had the same beginning. And that blew my mind, because the fact that they were born into a system and with no hope the first part of their life, no hope of a parent looking at them going, you are the most important thing in the room. No one looking at them as a woman going, you are of value. They didn't exist. That they thought that they would exist when they were released from prison blew my mind. Because we all struggle every day wanting to be validated for who we are and that we exist. And it made me feel like I had wasted many years of my life with trivial things, and here they were just trying to be seen. And so the gift that they gave us of their stories and their transparencies and pain and joy and excitement about what life would be like just blew our minds, because most of the women will not survive out in the real world. They will wind up back in there just because it's too hard and they can't function. It's too much, it's too loud. The society doesn't want them. To get a job is nearly impossible as a con. You have it on your forehead. They know they could be seen a mile away.
What made Nora a great actor's director, and more specifically, always talk about like the trust between actor and director. Talk about that trust that you had for each other.
Nora was a documentary filmmaker, and then she made her first film was a film called Systems Crasher, and it was in German. Nora's German, and it won many awards. But Graham King brought this film to me because I wanted a female director, because I felt the woman's point of view was missing from the story. And if you have the chance to see Systems Crasher, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Again, she has, as a documentary filmmaker, a fearlessness in digging out the truth, and she's like a dog with a bone. It's like sometimes you're like, just drop it, just drop it. She says, no, but we have to know if this person in Seattle was different than Los Angeles, but we have to, like, prison is a prison. But guess what? Prison is not a prison. In Seattle, you get $40. You get $40 when you left prison. After 20 years, you're handed $40 and a bag of some used clothing. That makes a difference between that prison and a prison, say, in Los Angeles. She has the uncanny ability to see two sides to everything, and that's what she really wanted represented in this. And the thing that I selfishly wanted was a director who would not allow my baggage that I bring as an actor. You go, oh, Sandra Bullock, you love her in rom-coms and all that stuff. Yeah, I love rom-coms too. I love comedy, I love joy, I love fun. But I knew she wouldn't let this film be made with any other version other than the version of Ruth Slater that needed to be shown. And so as a protective agent, I knew I had someone in my corner who would not allow me would not. Not good, I'm not. I like stopped. You know what I meant. She wouldn't allow me to fail by being anything other than the horrendous Ruth, the broken Ruth, the angry, rage-filled Ruth. She would not allow me to not be that.
When you are in that rage, that broken person, and you go into playing someone so deep. When you're in the middle of making the film, do you stay there? Is it easier for your performance when you stay there for the duration of the film?
Our films, we were shooting about a month and a week or 2 weeks, and we got shut down with the pandemic. So we had 6 months of sitting in this world that we didn't know if we were allowed to pick up again. But it was oddly fortuitous for us in that we had those 6 months to edit the first half of this film to see what grew from it. Because often you go, oh, we're making this movie, then you go, the story we thought would be really bright isn't shining as brightly as I say something else. And we were able to finish the second half with the exact knowledge of what we needed to facilitate the story, which we had to do because of COVID. We had to storyboard everything. Everything was meticulously blocked out. We weren't allowed to be near anyone. So my days with Viola Davis, who you think, I want to work with Viola Davis, we're 15 feet apart. But somehow it worked. So we had to sit for 6 months in the way I was walking, the way I was chewing my nails. I bonded these teeth to the front of my mouth, so it changed my mouth, so I was embarrassed about my teeth. We had them dyed with yellow iodine, and I didn't care. It was such, and did I not care because we were in a pandemic and no one was seeing it? I'm sure. But I honestly, it was liberating. It was absolutely liberating to walk and sit and not have the pretense of being a lady, because I was a lady. I just didn't look it or pretend to be it the way that we've seen it projected.
So you actually shot the first half before the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So when you pick things up again and you're shooting, so now you're making the second half of the film during lockdown or during the pandemic. So normally when you make a film, you finish the take, you look over your director or DP or whoever, see them smile. You don't have that luxury because everyone's wearing a mask. So what were the challenges of making a film during the pandemic?
Fear. I mean, we were all so scared. No one had a protocol. We made it up as we went. As a producer, you want your crew to go home the same way that they arrived. To be in a scene in a car, I was, Rob Morgan was there. I was halfway across the room, trying to be intimate, trying to, we would split screen it if we had to. But there was never a moment that one of us wasn't in a mask and shield while the other one was without a mask and shield. But in an odd way, that fear made us depressed. It made us scared. It made us really edgy. And for me, it was just helpful. That's how I was the whole time. So I think in an odd way, it helped keep that uncomfortable, unsteady vibe alive without having to really force it.
Well, speaking of Rob was fantastic.
If you don't know his work, please go find it, because he is a character actor and a leading man in ways that I haven't seen in a long time. I mean, I don't know, the Renaissance era is over, but he is a Renaissance man of just talent and thought and he's incredible. He's absolutely incredible.
Viola Davis, let's talk about her.
Viola Davis, that you just have to say Viola Davis and everyone has basically the same reaction, like, I love her. She is, Nora Finkscheid, the director, we were just talking earlier, and we were reminiscing on what that moment was like when we all imagined, what if we could get Viola Davis? And then you immediately go to the list of, we're not gonna get Viola Davis, but we want someone like Viola Davis. And then you get Viola Davis. And she infuses story like nobody else can, with a power like nobody else can. She doesn't need a lot of words. She comes out of that door, she's protecting those kids, and she just lets you have it. And you are like, it was hard for me not to react like Sandy, because it's so beautiful, but it's so powerful. She has this line with her husband, this white woman's coming to her house. This white woman's invading, how dare you bring this woman, and how dare you have sympathy for this woman who got out of jail after 20 years for killing a cop? And when she says, our 2 black sons would be dead. Our 2 black sons would be dead. And you just listen to that and let that sit. And then you look at this white woman on her property and you understand the injustices. You just, in one sentence from her, these 2 beautiful boys that she has. And I was like, if you didn't understand it before, do you understand it now coming out of Viola Davis's mouth in the scene? Like, what else do you need? And she's an actor's actor, she's a director's actor, she's a producer's actor, she's a visionary, she is a storyteller, and just to have that time, even though I was 15 feet away, as we're yelling, I'm like, what? What did you say? I'm like, I think she said fuck you. Did she say fuck you?
You're like, we couldn't hear each other. I was like, just
look at each other's eyes and we'll figure it out. But if you're gonna do a pandemic movie with anyone, you want to do it with Viola Davis.
I'd say you want to do it with everyone in this cast. Vincent D'Onofrio is also magnificent. The scene in when
Mediation?
thank you, yes. That was a great scene.
Mhm.
Tell us
What
about
you
that
have to
scene.
make in that one, it's like, this is it, can I extract as much information as possible, but did they read the letters? And when they said they she doesn't remember you?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stan.
Tell us about that scene. This guy really liked it.
It was,
Right.
when you were sitting opposite that cast, and there's such sweet people, and I'm just sitting here going, I'm gonna unleash, and I'm gonna feel so bad. But you just, again, you were with actors in a room, and you go, it was so freeing to just be ugly. Just the ugly side of myself that sits in Sandy every day, and she's not allowed to come out. My kids are going, well, we see it. But to be able to be that, and with those actors, to have them just, it was like a ring match. Like someone rang the bell, and we were just down that hallway, and Nora would just let it rip. The I exist part wasn't in the script. That was from the women I spoke to. We just kept saying, what is it that you want us to convey? And they go, that we exist. And I was like, I've never doubted for a second I existed. That's a luxury, that's a privilege, And so it was a really nice boxing match that we all felt that we got to have together and be really safe in the process with a German director who was looking at our country through this prism and able to see things that I couldn't even see.
When you go deep for a role and you prep, you get into it, what's it like coming out of it?
I'm pretty good coming out of it.
Yeah.
I'm good coming out of it if I have left it all on the table that day. I don't want to bring it home to my beautiful children. They need me. They don't need me coming in with my baggage going, I couldn't make the scene work. It's like, shit. It's like, if I can't spend it all at work, I failed as a parent. And my job as a parent is far more important than my job as an actor. get really angry at myself if I haven't left it all at work, because that means I didn't do 100%. So I really strive for that while I'm at work. So when I come home to the babies, they get me.
So, when all is said and done and people are watching The Unforgivable, with so much commitment that you gave to this performance, gave to this movie, and again, another loaded question, but what do you sort of hope people take with them from the experience of watching this film?
Entertainment, a good ride. Did you not see it coming?
I did check out.
Judgment. We all do it. We all have it. I don't care how woke or evolved you think you are. We judge. We judge. You never know someone's story until you start at the beginning. And I like that there's two sides to all of the characters, to their pain, to their realization, to their joy, to their life. You think you haven't figured out, and then you see another side, and you go, oh, okay. I was only looking through my eyes. I wasn't looking through their eyes. So it's entertainment. I want joy. I want reveal. I want thrill. I want, escapism. I wanted that last scene. That last scene was based on a piece of news footage that I had seen. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There was, I don't know if I should say it, I don't care. There was a man whose child had died, and he was a cyclist, and he was cycling across the United States. And, you know what I'm talking about? And he was going, you're gonna make me cry. It's good because it's the end. He was going to meet the recipient of his child's heart. And he gets out of the car, and this beautiful young man with a little bag and a stethoscope walks over to him, hands him the stethoscope out of the bag, and gives it to the father. And the father listens to his son's heart. And the hug and the love that you feel, there were no words, absolutely no words at all. It was two worlds coming together. The father was white, the beautiful young man was black. And the love that this man had for his child that lived within this young man, and this young man's tenderness and sweetness for this man's grief, in this hug, I said, if we can get a hug that just says it all with no words, after all this time apart, everyone being in lockdown, this young woman who's now an older woman who had to raise her sister as her daughter. How do you wrap it up? Our film started as a silent film with our lead character not speaking. I wanted our film to end in that way as well. So that, to me, if we pulled off that moment of conveying love, but being able to let go, that to me was everything, Some touching. We had so much distance, I just needed some touching.
Wow. Every performance you've given takes you to where you are now. That's your growth, that's your evolution as an actor. So if I mention a couple of your films, just a couple.
Mention the stinkers too, because that's the growth as well.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm not going to mention the stinkers. I want to mention just some of the films, and you know what? If I say the name of the film, just say the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. Just anything. Could be your performance, someone else's performance, the craft services were really great that day. Whatever it is. Okay. So while you were sleeping.
I wanted that film so badly. I had to audition so many times, and the actress who was supposed to do it had to drop out. I remember the room. I remember John Turteltaub, the director, sitting there. I remember every line I learned. I remember what I wore. It's the only audition that I remember from beginning to end, and how many times I did it.
How many times?
I think it was 5.
Wow. All right, Miss Congeniality.
That was the first film that I produced, and I wanted to make it for young girls. Me. It was physical comedy that women didn't get to do anymore. Lucille Ball got to do it. Carol Burnett got to do it, but no one was doing it anymore. And it just makes me so happy. I have a little girl now that repeats those annoying lines back to me, and I'm like, now I know why so many mothers hated me. It was my crown jewel. It's just me. It's just that film is just me.
And you got that with William Shatner.
I know. He went to space, guys. For real.
Okay, Crash.
Oh my God. Yes, Crash was the film that I decided to do when I stopped doing the comedies that had given me so many blessings. When I said I need a career change, I need to stop everything. And I remember I was in New York City and I was given a script. You said say one thing, right? Am I screwing it up a little bit? I was in New York. I was ripping apart my apartment. There was a plastic tarp between my bed and the doorway, and I remember sitting there reading the script on the edge of my bed, and I was like, I have to play this woman because no one will let me play a repressed, angry bitch like this. And I was like, it has to be me. And it was the smartest thing I ever did, not just because of the role, but because of the story and how people's lives are always going to intersect and crash into each other. You are not in a bubble, no matter how much you think you are. But it was a really lucky break for me.
The Blind Side.
I turned it down 3 times. First week of shooting was the worst week of shooting I'd ever had. I got into the car and I was like, I'm horrible. I don't know how to do this. I didn't know how to make the scene work. I'm gonna be raked over the coals. This is embarrassing. I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So that was week 1.
You figured it out?
Maybe not.
Gravity.
There's so much layered into Gravity for me, personally and professionally, in that I received the opportunity to do this film with Alfonso Cuarón, who Y Tu Mama Tambien was one of my favorite films. And I remember getting the call, and I was in the middle of a life crisis, and I had a newborn, and they said, Alfonso will fly down to Austin, he will come talk to you, and I'm like, I can't do this, I don't know what to say to him. I mean, it just wasn't in my bandwidth, and I remember him coming. By the time he left, I was making a movie with Alfonso Cuarón where we were gonna shoot in one of those, are they called zero gravity planes where they just drop out of the sky? It was for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We're going to be in a plane, we're going to drop out of the sky, we're going to film. Whatever happens, happens. And I was like, I hate flying. I'm a horrible flyer. And I'm literally going, this man has just convinced me to drop out of the sky for 2 weeks. And I guess my life's already in the shitter, so I'm supposed to drop out of the sky. And then going there and training, and we finally shot it on Earth. And it was I remember being on this bicycle stand. I know you said one word, but I can't. So they took a bicycle stand, like a pole, and put a bicycle seat in it. Strapped one leg to it, and while Chivo, the DP, was turning the camera, my job was to slowly contract like Martha Graham. Everything I was doing was like my body was moving like this. The whole film was just slow motion. And I remember how many times, it was like 6 or 7 times you had to do that, and Alfonso was like, stop shaking. And I was like, it's called a muscle, that's what happens when your workout shakes, but I had to balance and clench, and when they finally got that shot, I remember Chivo was crying, because it was the shot that they'd had in their head for so long. And I remember thinking of a teacher that I had, Jerome Jenkins, who was the most extraordinary dancer. He's from Alvin Ailey. He came to my college, the middle of nowhere, and we were like, what is this amazing teacher doing coming to East Carolina University? I was a drama major who wanted to be a dancer, and it was never gonna happen. I was in the back of his class, he hated me, he would throw me to the ground. He'd say, stop throwing your body around, but I kept getting up, kept getting up, kept getting up. And after 2.5 years, I sort of got the approval of him, you know, not anything extraordinary, but he said, if she can keep getting up, you can fucking keep getting up. And I was a little tortured from eating too much ice cream, and I was like, I'm gonna lose the weight, and I'm gonna show him. And I realized that because of him, I was able to sit on that seat, and I was able to contract like Martha Graham or Chivo and Alfonso Cuarón to show what they wanted to show as rebirth. And it was so extraordinary to come home after those 3 months of being in their presence, and realizing I'm gonna be fine. I have a child, I'm a single parent, it's all gonna be okay. But they gave me the gift of realizing that the sum of my parts is not who I am. It's the sum of other people's parts that had contributed to my life to put me in that moment. And you go, okay, how are you ever alone? How are you ever alone? So it was really, out of all my films, it was the one that sort of spat me out the other side, where I knew I was moving on.
And that's the way the movie ends.
Yeah, at the very end, yeah.
So very, very good.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,